In 1994, I had my first daughter, and 2 years later, my second. Then I blinked, and they were almost grown up. I was divorced twice, and I'd worn out at least 2 lawnmowers. I've noticed that time was moving faster and faster the older I got. Do you know that feeling? When we were kids, it seems like forever from Christmas to Christmas. Now we're saying, are the shops already decorating for Christmas again? I mean, they just took it down. I'm here to tell you that I discovered a way to slow down time. Up until a few years ago, I lived a life that most people in the Western world would consider normal. I had a family with 2 kids, an office job, and I built a career. At some point, I started my one-man company where I produce radio and podcast, and since that is something I can do online, I can work anywhere. And I came to a turning point in my life where I decided to become a digital nomad. So when my daughters were grown up and moved out of the house, so did I. I sold all my stuff, and in July 16, I left my hometown where I'd been living the first 51 years of my life to become a full-time radio vagabond. Up until then, apart from a few trips for work and vacation every year, I didn't move much. Now I do. In the last 4 years, I've been to 82 countries and territories in 5 continents, and I've spent the night in 314 different places. That's an average of 4.5 nights in the same place. My 4 recent New Year's Eve parties have been in Chiang Mai, Thailand, in the middle of the jungle in the Gambia, on the beach in Copacabana in Rio de Janeiro, and in Canggu, Bali. It's my goal to visit every country in the world, and it's something I document in a podcast where I dive into the culture of the place and speak to the locals. Like I mentioned, it's been almost 4 years of living like this. But here's the kicker. Those 4 years feels like 20. A few months ago, I was back in Denmark for a few days. I bumped into an old friend in what used to be my regular supermarket. He said, "So, have you been traveling for a year now?" When I told him that it's been almost 4 years, he wouldn't believe me. He seriously thought I was joking. And I found that interesting because why is it that 4 years feels like 20 for me and only like 1 year for him? Why do I have this sense of time that it's almost expanding? And I discovered that we are being tricked by the brain. It's our brain that tricks us. You see, the more attention to detail there is, the longer time seems to last because all that information takes a longer time for our brain to process. If you're not taking in much new information, your brain is more or less on autopilot, and it feels like time is moving faster. As we get older, there is less and less new information to take in, and that's why it feels like time is moving faster the older we get. It's as if the brain is sitting with a remote control saying, "Yeah, this is boring. I've seen this before. Let me fast forward a bit." That happened to me too. But now, time is moving slower because I take in new information all the time. When I get to a new place, I have to find out, first of all, where to live and is this neighborhood safe? But then, where do I shop? How do you say butter in Albanian? What's good to eat in Guinea-Bissau? Where can I get a local SIM card in Indonesia? How does the public transport work in La Paz? There is so much to find out. Even the smallest mundane things is something that requires brain power. I also have to figure out how everything works in my new temporary home. Like here in Cape Town, when you're in an apartment in Cape Town and you're running low on electricity, you have to buy more electricity in 7-Eleven. I'm not kidding. It might seem like small things, all of this, but it's input that my brain has to process. And then obviously, I also need to go out and see things. Both the normal must-see attractions and go look for the hidden gems of a place, experiencing the culture, looking for stories and finding people to interview for my travel podcast. I've been visiting an orphanage in Nicaragua, a school in North Korea, a private home in Dakar. I've also been scuba diving in the Philippines, hang gliding over Rio de Janeiro, and doing the world's highest bungee jump from Macau Tower. Again, things that takes time for my brain to process. And that's why it feels like time is moving slower for me. You can actually do the same without being quite as extreme. Just do whatever you can to experience something new every day and give your brain something to work with so it doesn't reach for that remote control. Becoming a digital nomad and a full-time vagabond is probably the single best decision I've made in my life after having kids. I feel enriched by all the adventures and the many new friends I've gained all over the world. But almost the coolest thing is that time doesn't fly by so quickly. You see, I enjoy living and I would like to live for a very long time. I'm 55 right now, and with this lifestyle, I will live until I'm 150. At least it'll feel like that. Thank you.